Welcome to another video. My name is Chris B, and this video today is a throwback to Lynne's Toy Stable, one of the best Star Wars stores which we had in the Seattle area in the 2000s going into around 2015-2016. It was unique, especially when it came to vintage Star Wars toys and memorabilia. And this video here was recorded on June 19th, 2016, which was already at a different location, I believe. And I unfortunately don't have a recording of the original store. But when I filmed this, the new owner still had quite a bit of stock left from what Lynne had in her store, and a very similar setup with the same display cases, so at least it gives you a hint of what the toy stable used to be and what the pricing for vintage Star Wars toys was like in 2016. So while you're checking out the figures and some of the pricing in the video, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a background about the toy stable. And this place was called the Toy Stable because it was literally a stable which had been converted into a toy store. It was located in Spanaway, Washington, about 30 to 40 minutes south of Seattle. So me coming from the north of Seattle and having to go through downtown Seattle and Tacoma traffic with a few Walmarts and Targets along the way where I could stop and check for Star Wars figures. Going there took a huge part out of my day, but I always loved it. And typically I would meet up with Tom, a friend of mine, and together we would spend a few hours looking at and talking about Star Wars figures at the toy stable. Now, Lynne was the owner. She loved toys and was incredibly knowledgeable about Star Wars action figures. She knew all the accessories that went with the figures. I mean, you could walk into that store and have a conversation about collecting Star Wars with her forever. And she really knew her stuff. When you would walk into that store and ask her if she had a Luke Jedi with a blue saber and a snap cape, she would respond by pulling out several versions from behind her desk. So not only did she know her stuff, but she had an incredible stock of vintage Kenner figures. Now, in addition to it being fun to talk to, she also had two dogs which could do tricks, and you could pet them while talking to her, and it was just fun to hang around there. I think it wasn't just a store. It felt more like it was part of the collecting community in the area. It sometimes just ended up being a meeting place for people where collectors just gathered. Everybody actively collecting in the Seattle area knew Lynne, and in rare occasions she would even show up at local collector meetings. Now, the toy stable had a wide variety of different toys. Besides vintage and modern Star Wars, Lynne had E.T. toys, Ghostbusters, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe, you name it, and Lynne probably had it in her shop. It was a place where you could turn your old toys in and trade them for something else that you wanted. To me, it felt more like an antique shop where you'll never know what you end up finding or actually end up buying. I spent a lot of time just going through vintage papers and old Toy Fair and Star Wars magazines, old Star Wars paper clippings, there were bootlegs, autographed Star Wars figures, you name it. Now, the toy stable is still around, but it has a different owner and is now in a different location, not far from the original one, but collecting toys has changed quite drastically these days, and vintage Star Wars toys from the 70s and 80s have just dried up drastically everywhere, and prices have skyrocketed. And that change is reflected in the toy stable nowadays, where the focus is still on a wide variety of toys, but the selection of vintage Star Wars from the 70s and the 80s is very, very little when compared to what Lynne had in her shop. So yeah, the toy stable was the place to go to when you were a Star Wars action figure collector. And like I mentioned, there was always something you could find. There were always corners or stuff kind of hidden behind other stuff. And it was just so much fun to look through stuff. And I know there are a lot of other Star Wars stores or collectible stores these days that do a really good job catering to fans. But there was just something so family-like about this place that just made you felt welcome instantly. And then the entire setting of it being a stable and being out in the countryside, it just kind of made it more special, I think. So yeah, I do miss the old toy stable, and that's why I decided to make this video, and I hope you guys liked it. If you know of a similar store or a store that you really love in your area, post it in the comments. I'd love to check it out because I feel like those types of stores are really rare these days. So hope you guys like this video. Hope you guys like checking out the vintage Kenner pricing from around 2016. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll catch you on the next one.